What's up, everyone? All right, let's see if the slides come up, though. One moment. Okay, modern internet is broken. Modern tech ecosystem is broken. Think of the apps you use every single day. Facebook, Instagram, even Google search. Broken beyond belief. You might have seen Shrimp Jesus, the latest feature of Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg on a recent earnings call said he's going to have an entire separate feed just for AI slop. Do you want to see weird disfigured children and more Shrimp Jesuses? Well, you're going to, because that's what Mark Zuckerberg wants. And why is all of this happening? It's something I call the rot economy. The growth at all cost ecosystem that has dominated tech. Technology and the biggest players in technology no longer are controlled by engineers. They're controlled by management consultants, some of the most evil people alive. And if you have an MBA, I'm sorry, talk to a priest. Now, why are tech products now shit? It's more about why tech is dying, and it's an incentive problem. The incentives have changed. Tech companies have become the easiest way to express growth to a market obsessed with year-over-year revenue growth. And this progression was natural. It was horrible. You can blame Mark Andreessen. He's a horrible man. But you can blame many horrible men. There are so many guys to be mad at the moment. And it comes down to a lot of factors. And it's the perverse incentive that public companies have to show that year-over-year growth. Now let's start with Google and some real shitheads. Now, in February 2019, a guy called Ben Gomes ran Google Search. A nice guy, a good guy, a nice fella. Except from on high, the Dark Lords, led by Prabhakar Raghavan, the head of ads at Google, and the revenue team, demanded the queries increased. Now you may think, more queries on Google, that doesn't sound good. Wouldn't that just mean that it's harder to find stuff? And you'd be completely bloody right. It's a sickening story, and if you look at the emails that were revealed as part of the antitrust trial with the Department of Justice, you will feel sick to your stomach or want to drink. I personally choose weed, but that's up to you. Now, there was a code yellow call. It said, we must increase queries. We must make this better. Ben Gomes, he said, feels like this company's it's just only focused on growth. It feels like we're being owned by the growth, and he was completely bloody right. He was one of the original people at Google, one of the true believers in what Google Search could do for the world. Yet Jerry Dishler, VP at the time under Prabhakar, he said, well, we've got to make something change. Now, the code yellow was called. It took about a month to pass. They got through it. It wasn't really obvious how they got through it, but Mr. Gomes, well, he sent an email to Prabhakar and said, hey, I don't like this idea. I don't like this growth stuff. I think we shouldn't really try and increase queries. Wouldn't that make the experience worse? And he sent this email among many other emails. And he was saying that Google had allowed the money to get too close to Google Search. Well, guess what? Do you think that Google Search got better? No! This shithead took over Google Search in June 2020. Prabhakar Raghavan. Now, you might also have heard Prabhakar's name recently around Gemini, when Gemini was spitting out like Chinese George Washingtons, and conservatives who have nothing better to do and don't want to speak to their wives or speak to their children decided to get very angry about a woke AI. Nevertheless, Prabhakar takes over in June 2020. SEO experts claim that multiple different rollbacks happened that brought spammy results into your Google searches. Your searches became worse, it became harder to find the things you wanted, and this is the goddamn guy. Now, Sundar Pichai is also guilty. He is a McKinsey man, an MBA, truly evil people. And I know, you shouldn't be calling people evil so much. Fuck that. Call them evil. They're burning the Library of Alexandria in front of us. Google is now dominated by SEO content. Instead of indexing a web of honestly created content, Google is dominated by SEO. It's dominated by spam. Its results are impossible to tell from sponsored content, and they're mixing them in now. Now, it's really important to realize why this happened. And it's because, well, these companies make a shit ton of money. Now let's move over to my favorite, by which I mean probably the most evil company. And Lockheed Martin's pretty bad, Monsanto's pretty bad, Meta's worse. Why is Meta worse? Meta has billions of people that rely on them to connect with their friends and their family. Now, look at this right now. 3 billion users on Facebook. Billion plus on Instagram. Forgive me for not having the material in front of me. But I want you to think of the last time you used Facebook. Did you have a good time? Was it fun? Did you get to the pictures of your friends, your family, the music, the things you actually go on Facebook for? Or was there a carousel of random 2 or 3 second loops, then an ad, then a post from a week ago, then another ad, then a post from a month ago, then, okay, there's another ad, and if you click on the ad, it takes up the whole screen, and then maybe you might get to a thing you actually wanted to do on Facebook. Well, there is a reason, and that's because Facebook prioritizes one thing: engagement. Now, you may have realized that Facebook has also done things like, I don't know, cause genocides in Myanmar and also political division. That's also bad. And that's because of a guy called, well, Mark Zuckerberg, but then now CTO Andrew Bosworth, who once wrote in an internal email that all things are justified for growth, including a terror attack, including bullying in schools. These are the people. These are the people responsible for the products getting worse, and they're getting richer every goddamn day. Now, Facebook was falling apart a few years ago. Facebook had a problem. Facebook was losing young users, and they were like, well, is it because the product sucks and they hate it and it's bad and people don't like it? And maybe, like, we should make the product? No. Why would we do that? We need to make number go up. We need to show that we can grow double-digit % year over year without fail. Mark Zuckerberg is a petty king who cannot be fired due to the corporate structure of Facebook. And I am not kidding. Go and look it up. Who you want to blame for that, by the way? Sean Parker of Napster. He's the guy that convinced Peter Thiel and the earlier investors, yeah, Mark needs my board seats when he stepped down. There's so many people responsible. And I realize I'm being a bit jokey and, haha, yeah, I'm swearing and all that. But this is a really grim place we're in. We are at this point where people still act like tech is separate from society. When all of you have smartphones, some of you might even have 2. When children are getting smartphones at 8. Not my kid, fuck that. Nevertheless, not going to judge your parenting decisions. But the point I'm making is, tech is intrinsically part of our lives now, like water and electricity. And as long as we ignore this problem, and ignore these incentives, and ignore the fact that our tech lives are an ecological disaster, things will only get worse. But now let's look at this lovely chart we've got in front of me. Now, this is the percentage. Jesus Christ. 67% of the content you see on Facebook is nothing to do with your choice as a consumer or a human being. No. It's what Mark goddamn Zuckerberg wants you to see, and that other pervert Adam Mosseri, who used to run the news feed and now runs Instagram, and now he's running Threads, which, by the way, is one of the single worst social networks of all time. We did not need a Twitter made up of Instagram comments. And they haven't even monetized that. Trust me, when they do, it is going to be the single worst network. It's going to compete with X, I think, with just less groypers and more annoying, way too beautiful people. Anyway, my ugliness aside, this is why this is happening. As long as you stay on Facebook, you're effectively being shoveled shit. Very profitable shit, but shit all the same. Ryan Barwick from Marketing Brew, he wrote a few weeks ago that there is a massive broken problem at the middle of Facebook. Their ad product right now is not functioning properly. Meta, 99% of their revenue comes from advertising. In the core product, people put in $1,000, they spend it in a week. Guess what? It's gone in a day. Who are you going to go to? The other Facebook advertiser? The monopoly is brutal, the monopoly is strong, and the monopoly makes billions and billions and billions of dollars for the worst people alive. It's a dying product, and it's kind of a dying company. Over the past 3 years, it's lost 50 million monthly active users in the US. Facebook's unique visitors are down 25.2%. You may not think these companies can die. They can. And the product is bad. If there's anyone in the audience who actually likes Facebook and thinks it's a good product, I have no idea what to tell you. You need to go to therapy. You need to go and build up your self-esteem. You deserve better than this shit. And yet Facebook, despite dying, is still so profitable. Despite the fact that Instagram sucks like working in a vacuum factory. It is just so depressing, but this is it. There's this expectation that tech companies must grow forever. They must grow constantly, unerringly. But the only thing that grows forever is cancer. And I'm so angry because I grew up on the internet. The internet made me who I am today, which, I don't know, you can judge that later. But many of us found our friends, our loved ones, our animals, our apartments, our businesses. We found business partners. We found this place. And the people in charge are fucking it. And I'm being very dramatic, but look at the scale of the dollars and look at the shittiness of the products. It's disgusting. Now let's talk about another guy, another one of my favorite fellas, Mark Flippin Andreessen, who in a piece 2 years ago said he was reading multiple biographies of Hitler, and Google it seriously. That's the guy. It's really great that these are the guys in power. Nevertheless, famous essay he did, Software is Eating the World. Now, he framed this as some sort of heroic thing where tech must be given. Look at the quote. It's just this bloviating nonsense. And everyone at the time, because it was 2011 and nobody had any critique for tech, they were like, "Ooh, Mark, we love it. We're going to build our lives around this." What he was actually suggesting is that tech should be disconnected from regular valuations, by which he means being disconnected from value. It's kind of like if Ford, just every third car had, well, no steering wheel, or the steering wheel just didn't turn sometimes, but it's fine, right? It's okay, it's just a website. But over the next decade, thanks to Software is Eating the World, SaaS companies in particular, but honestly most tech companies, got to a point where the only thing that mattered to them was showing that growth. There are influencers within the SaaS industry who have done so well teaching you how to grow your organization, how to harass your customers, and an entire part of organizations, customer engagement, customer success. A good idea, yes, you should keep your customers going, you should make them happy, but the problem is it's become about, how do I get a little bit more out of my customers? Mugging your customers every so often. And it's just depressing. It's very depressing. Now, who here's used Tableau? It Tableaus. That's the thing with SaaS. SaaS as a business model has become as evil as the rest of it. It's about those year-long contracts. It's about the upsells. It's about making sure that the SaaS parasite gets into your organizational ecosystem and sticks around and makes itself tough to remove. The reason I put these up here is I want you to see if you are feeling angry or annoyed at your software, you are not alone. You are not the problem. If you use a website, a web service that you pay for, and you say, wow, this fucking sucks, this is really annoying, those little annoyances that you've likely gaslit yourself into believing are your fault, they're not your fault. They're Mark Benioff's. Salesforce, I believe, owns Tableau now. Salesforce itself. I once asked 11 people who were Salesforce customers what Salesforce does, and most of them could not answer. Salesforce is like 900 companies standing on top of each other's shoulders so that Mark Benioff can wank off and talk about Ohana. Buy another fucking island, Mark. No, sorry, that's Larry Ellison. My bad, Marky. But here's the thing. The growth at all costs rot economy is in everything in tech. It's not about the customer anymore, other than how they can trap them, how they can drain as much money out of every experience. But we're running into a problem. There aren't any growth markets left. Hypergrowth, really. And we're at this point where everyone's talking about generative AI. I know some of you aren't going to like this bit, whatever. They're not paying me, and they're not paying you, so whatever. Generative AI has no killer app. Generative AI burns way more money than it makes. And tech companies right now are flocking to it. They're throwing billions and billions, $200 billion in capital expenditures from the big tech firms for products that go from, pretty cool to, what? Any of you seen the Meta AI? The one that went in a parenting group and said that it had a gifted child? There's another one, 404 Media, look it up, where it was going inside a mushroom group and telling people to eat a mushroom that would kill them. I'm so glad we have AI and everything now. It's truly the future. But that's the thing. The desperation behind generative AI and the disconnection from a useful product and the media buzz is, well, desperation. This is the future. Who can count the amount of R's in the word strawberry? You are better than O1, the reasoning model from OpenAI, a company worth $157 billion goddamn dollars. Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm going insane. You look at this stuff, and you actually really look at look, generative AI has some uses. There's some cool AI journals. The AI companion stuff is pretty cool. But it's outsized by the fact that it does not have any real return and really isn't magical. There is no killer app. And this wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't run on stealing trading data, if it wasn't for the fact that OpenAI, well, I'll get to that in a bit, burns billions of dollars for no reason. And I mean, let's be honest, who really likes Sam Altman? Come on. He's so weird. He's a creepy little man. Got his cell the other day. I texted him. He didn't get back to me for some reason. Anywho, well, where's my slide? There we go. But here's the problem. We are accelerating at speed into a wall in a big, stupid car that costs too much money. And the reason we're doing that is because none of these companies anymore really know how to grow. Now, I'm sure some of you saw the Google AI summaries with eating rocks and also poisonous mushrooms. They love trying to kill people. All of this is tech only does this when it's very anxious. There is no hypergrowth market yet. So they're shoving the AI into everything. Hey, you've got a fucking Copilot in there, mate. Microsoft apparently, I've heard rumors, I don't know if they're confirmed yet, with all renewals of major enterprise contracts in Microsoft 365, they are raising the price 50%, but don't worry, you can use Copilot with it. Now you can have somewhat useful summaries and pay 50% more, which is good for Satya Nadella, I think. And this is the thing. This can only go so far. These companies can't really rely on generative AI because it hallucinates. But in the desperation to try and reignite growth in a dying ecosystem, the tech industry is going to shove this shit into everything. And they're doing it right now. Now, it's not in this presentation because the news came out about a week or two after, but there's a story in Bloomberg the other day that said that these companies, their models are not actually improving anymore. They're kind of hitting the wall. Surprise, bloody surprise. Transformer-based models are not going to be the future. They're not actually AI. They're not intelligent, and they're definitely not going to lead to AGI. But, and I live in Las Vegas. I've seen this a lot. People love staying at the table when they've lost a lot of money. I'll win it back. Every time they say they'll win it back, they're not going to win it back. I know gamblers. They're gambling. And so much money is going into so little. And it's pure desperation. The cost here is so significant to the environment alone. Now, you might have seen the story around Google, 30% over their emissions goals, Microsoft, 40% over. Recent reports said many of them might be 600% over their emissions goals. Jesus Christ! All that we can have a thing that will generate a busty Garfield. What the But the biggest thing is, these aren't even good companies. OpenAI, Anthropic, they're terrible companies. OpenAI will lose more than $5 billion this year. $5 billion, and that's before stock-based compensation, so it's probably more like 7. They're going to lose 10 billion or more next year. At some point, this has to fall apart, especially if the models aren't getting better. Now, some of you might say, well, ChatGPT is the biggest product in the world. Oh, 350 million users. Who cares? They lose money every single time you ask them anything. 100 Scooby-Doos with guns, each time boiling a lake. It's sickening. And what's worse is none of this shit's that cool. Really, come on. And that's the thing. They're desperate. They must see more growth, and AI is how they'll do it. And it's actually a symptom of another problem, which is so many companies are run by people who don't do a real job. CEOs that have no idea how their products work, VPs that don't really care, and they're in a sweet track where they just go from meeting to meeting. Indeed, if all you do is go from meeting to meeting and read the occasional email, generative AI seems fucking magical. Wow, I don't have to read the 6 emails I read every day. Great. Oh, cool, I can fire my assistant, except I can't because now they booked me on a flight to fucking Gibraltar for some reason. I needed to go to the shops. But that's the thing. Jokes aside, it's worrying, and it's kind of horrible. The startup ecosystem is being pilloried by this because the only people getting money are saying AI. A new legion of scam artists are rising. The people who couldn't quite ride the crypto wave are something like, oh, if I stick some GPT in it, any idiot will give me $4 million, and they're completely fucking right. Even, and I've heard from people inside of Microsoft, the only way to get any product greenlit is to tape AI to the side. It's disgusting. But I really have to warn you, and I'm not trying to be a downer, I'm really not. I don't have any tech stocks. I don't have any investment in this other than my own heart. This stuff can't last. Generative AI is not sustainable, and the entire tech ecosystem is doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down in it. And this is the symptom of the growth at all costs rot economy. When you are no longer dedicated to providing users with an experience, when your priority is not serving a purpose other than increasing revenue growth, you have a brain drain, you lose the good people. People like Ben Gomes, a true scientist, a true engineer, get run out of town by Prabhakar Raghavan, a class traitor from the engineer sect, former engineer. And can I just tell you what Prabhakar Raghavan's previous job was before Google? Yeah, he ran Yahoo Search. Yahoo, you know, the famous successful search engine we all use today, the one powered by Bing. It's frustrating, because I do truly love technology, and I assume all of you do too. And it can be better, but there's going to be a period of change. I worry for this. I hope I am wrong, because if I'm right, eventually, big tech is not going to have a new product. They're not going to have anything new to flog. They'll all have to do exactly what Mark Benioff does, which is build nothing and buy everything. They just bought like a digital storage company. What the f? But that's because he needs to be able to say, new product, assholes. We're going to look, street people. And Jim Cramer busts wildly every time he speaks to Mark Benioff. But that's the thing. If what I think is true happens, there is going to be a massive reckoning in the tech industry. And tech really needs to cure its growth addiction. It needs to. Because the products you love or used to love suck now. Because all those companies care about is growing revenue. I am not a cynic. Okay, I'm a cynic, but I'm not a pessimist at least. I just want things to be better, and I want you to be better. If you are building products today, and your only plan is to grow as much and sell to another company, throw your computer in the trash. Get out of tech. Become a management consultant or a fucking hedge fund manager. They're all like you there. We must purge this industry of growth capitalism. And don't worry, if we don't, it'll just fuck everything. Eventually, the street will turn on big tech valuations. And when they do, it will be horrible for everyone. And you're kind of already seeing it within startups. The majority of startup investment goes to mid and late stage investments and not seed. And it's sickening. But it can be better. I believe it can be better. Build better companies. Build companies that matter to customers, that solve real problems, that actually make customers better, stronger, smarter. It's a Daft Punk song, not a Kanye West one. Anyway, I love tech. I really do. I want it to be better, and I want all of you to be better. So please push back against the growth at all costs ecosystem. Drop the products built to fuck with you. Maybe delete your Facebook accounts. I know it's difficult. Or just use them less. Every minute you spend on them gives Mark Zuckerberg a little bit more money he doesn't need to buy more pieces of Hawaii. What is it with those people in Hawaii? Anyway, thank you all for listening.